Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is Wednesday. It's October the 1st. Believe it or not, we got a new trading month once again. Next thing you know, the December contract will be expiring, and um, we'll be in the quarter one 2015 contract. So things years cruising by quickly. But anyway, let's talk about the trades. Nice larger two-tiered channel working lower. You really couldn't be too sure about this one till maybe around 10 o'clock, but once you started working down through here, this pretty much confirmed this midline. Um, you might have got this midline off of these first few swings with this bounce, but this was a little harder to find. You didn't really need it. You had this one working down, a break, and a move to a new low. So, um, and really on this shorter term, when there was a break here, an attempt at a new low before it went higher, you could draw this shorter term two-tiered one that I drew a little more, a little flatter, and you may not have even had a break here yet. So this might have been your first break. It doesn't matter as long as you get it really close. You should be okay. You'll hear me say it a lot of times. You don't have to be exact, but you got to be close. And obviously, after this first leg down, I measured it, and then I move it down, and look where a measured leg puts you. Right, right in here, right where we're headed and pulling in now. Something this week, it could go lower, or we could bounce early, but that's where I'm looking for my target to go to. Uh, so that's what I would be looking for at this moment for a target. And you could get some shorter term. Notice this one I had, and then we had a correction. And then this looks like a little, almost like a little spiking channel here. I don't have it drawn on there, but it's there. You can see that right through there. And if you copy that and move it over, it's pretty obvious that there's probably, and it may even be a two-tiered one, with that being the lows, and then another one. If that's the case, it's going to take a little longer, and that looks really valid. So that may keep us from making this point without coming in a little later than right in here on the mark. Okay, sorry, I had a slight interruption, but anyway, that's what I'm looking for a target if we can make it. A lot of trades in there, and there's actually some more trades in here. They're a little risky, so I didn't mark them. I just marked the ones that looked really good to me. Um, the easy ones that were just, almost sure things. And, once you start headed downhill like this, you're just looking for a reason to enter for the most part. I didn't mark anything afternoon, but there's another easy setup right there. Um, this one's not so good, but it gives you another chance to enter here. So there's a second entry short right there. It's not a good signal bar. But like I said, on a day like this where everything's been downhill, we'll make that one green. But I'm not going to mark anymore. They're there. You can look at them. I want to talk about there's plenty of trades here without even thinking about those that I just talked about. Plenty of really good trades. I mean, there were plenty of trades all morning long early here. If you were trading early enough, um, there's a failed second entry long here. Um, this was a little bit before 7 o'clock. If you were trading then, though, notice the new high. And there's a trend line working up through there. A little close outside, then a move to a new high, and then a lower high. So really aggressive guy. I mean, this is in the overnight, 4 o'clock in the morning or so. But around, let's just see what time this is. This is before I got in. This is early, about 6:30. But there's a nice signal bar right there, that big bearish bar. So if you wanted to take that short on that trap, it's not a bad setup at all. You can see that bar. It looks like it's questionable if you might have got in it, but it comes right back and gives you another chance. Fills that little gap, breaks higher first, and then turns down. I liked, and again, it gaps again right there. So if you didn't get in below here where you stop, you may not have made that trade. Quick, easy scalp, and then of course it bounces and it turns down. You get your 3. That kind of confirms your trend line. And there's actually a little, I'll have this one on there. There's actually a little trend line working up through there. And you get your close, attempted a new high and a lower high, and kind of a bearish bar right there. I like that one. And there's actually a failed second entry long right there, so you could have actually got in right there. Actually, I think what I meant to do was mark this one right here, and I think I marked that one instead. And this one is like a breakout pullback short. But again, it's right off that trend line, and this one should have been green, and I really meant to mark. I'm going to leave this one green, but when I circled this one, I think I meant to circle this one, and I circled the wrong one when I went back. But here's your failed second entry long. Notice the new high, pullback first entry, pullback second entry. It fails, and you're looking for prices to go lower. And the fact that you overshot this line right here, I originally had this line a little lower. Once we went on through and started going down, then you realize this is probably a midline. So there was still room to scalp out. Turns out to be a heck of a trade. And again, it's one you don't really know it's going to be a good trade. But even if you entered here, it went higher first, so your stop should have been here. You probably lost your runner here on this one, depending on how you entered that one. And then it makes a new low, and then you get another. It looks like it's really kind of like a failed second entry long there. It is a failed second entry long. It's not kind of like one, but it fails and turns down. I liked using the limit order here because it didn't quite close on this low. Moves on down. And I don't think you can enter after that because now you've touched this lower line, bounced a few times. Looks like it would have been good if you would have taken it, and you don't want to be going long in there. No reason to go long yet because on your bigger channel here, there's been no break. But notice the shorter term when there's a break and new low, so you're expecting a correction. And then of course there's on up through here. You get your close, move to a new high, and then there's your lower high. I like that one. It kind of hesitates a minute, but then you get the failed second entry long. Look at that bearish bar. Just go short right there. And you're looking for prices to test this low at a minimum, and look at it drop. Another great trade. And then, of course, it bounces again. And at the time, you don't really know. You think it's just getting weak, but the reason it bounced there is probably because of this line, and you can see that makes sense. But you may not have had that then. At least I didn't. And then notice you're going up. And this one was really kind of iffy here, but that's such a bearish bar. I just didn't think you could ignore it. There's no, you'd expect it to get a little more resistance off that EMA. And this thing's been really weak. And the way I had it drawn, this was the first break with a little double top trap right there, and it went out the high side. So I actually liked going short below this bar because it went higher first and turned down. But then look how bearish that is. If nothing else, wait on a break and drop a limit order back in there, maybe a tick or so, and you would have gotten filled maybe a tick back into that. And then off it goes, and then it corrects again. And it's heading higher. This one I went back and forth about whether or not to make it green, but we did have this break here. We had a retest attempt, and then we didn't get nearly to the low, or we got close, but we didn't get close enough to that made me feel like the market was still weak at this point. It was kind of overdone to the downside is really what I'm trying to say. And look how this is getting flat. But notice that we went through the EMA and pulled back, and this is really like a failed second entry short. If you move this out of the way, you can see that there's a leg up, a little correction, another leg up, and a similar correction. It's only one break lower, but that's 2 legs up. So it's and you're looking for, and this is the first close outside this little channel. So you're looking for a new high, but you're thinking, hey, there's a possibility that there's a higher trend line here. You may not know exactly where it's at yet, but you know there's probably one up there, and that's most likely where we're headed. And you can see it struggled all the way up there, but it got there, and then the bottom fell out again. But that's the idea, is to figure out, to use these tools to figure out and know where prices are heading, so you don't get fooled as to why it's headed up here, and then you don't get fooled when it reverses and the bottom falls out again. So that's the whole idea behind using these shorter term trend lines too, to help you figure out when it's over. This one's a little deceiving right here, and actually this could be just a little higher right here, because you see how that bounced right there and right there. And so maybe we did get a little close outside. It's not much of one, but the main reason was because there's a midline here, and the sellers all came back in and drove it lower again. And you know, normally this might be a iffy entry right here, but with that break higher, the double top, and that bearish bar, I think it was worth risking it. I don't think it's that aggressive really, because that's been a nice correction in a big downtrend. And so you're figuring prices are going to come back to the EMA and probably test this low, and maybe even come back down here and try to retest this lower, and hopefully even that low. But it just didn't get that far before. Excuse me, before it bounced. But I like that. And I went back and forth again about whether or not to make that green, because it's like a counter trend trade, but you get that trap there. First of all, there's a trap, and you've got one leg up, and so you're looking for another leg up. So you're looking for prices to make this new high at a minimum, but it goes much higher. And there is the thought that there may be another trend line up here. I didn't like this short right here because it couldn't break higher before it turned down. There is a lower high here, and there is a second entry short. We did get a break and a new high. I just don't like the signal bar. And then this was looking like it would be a good signal bar, but look, it can't go lower again. So there's too big a chance that this breaks lower and snaps back before it goes down. And so I was a little bit hesitant of it. It's probably worth marking it green, just in case you took it. If you might have used a limit order here, but until it got below the EMA and came back and tested it, or proved that it was going lower, I just didn't like it. There's a failed second entry long right here. Notice the new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. And there's really kind of a couple of measured legs down there. So this would likely trap a lot of people trying to, after this big move up, people are thinking it's probably going to go higher, and they get trapped there. I drew it green because we've already moved so low. We're not back to the EMA. We're not back to the trend line, but it is a trap. And so some people are going to want to take those aggressive traps, and it would have worked by exactly to the tick, I believe. Your entry would have been 51.50, and you see it went exactly, got enough. It got its 5 ticks where you could scalp out with 4 ticks on a limit order. But then the best entry comes, the more safer one comes here. You rebound, failed second entry long. It looks kind of bullish again, and then boy, it turns. I just liked going short with a stop right there, and it was a quick, easy scalp. Comes back, you get a failed second entry long here at the same place, right at the EMA again. It went higher first and then broke lower. Because that's a doji beside it there, again, you might have used a limit order, and you could have gotten filled on it. Another one, and then there's another. This is almost like a new high. You could treat this like a new high here. So a first entry long, pull back, second entry long, it fails. Look at that bearish reversal bar. Definitely go short right there if you didn't enter here, and if you want, you can add on there. Nice move down. We've got a break of this in a new low now, and there's been some support right across this area right in here already. So I was a little iffy about going short here. It's not a very good signal bar either, but notice the new low, pull back, first entry, pull. It's a second entry short, and this thing's been really weak. We're not back to the midline really, so there's a possibility that this thing's going to go lower. So it's a little bit aggressive, so I did draw it in green, but again, it was a quick, easy trade. And now the bottom's really falling out of this thing. And but we've got a new low, and so I was a little hesitant here to go lower until we got some resistance off of this line right here. And notice this is a double top, so you can count this as a new high pullback. There's a first entry long pullback, there's a second entry long. This actually would have been good for a scalp, but the fact that it turned down so quickly off that EMA and off this possible little trend line right here, and the midline, I liked it as a trap. It turned out to be a pretty good trade. And this is just a little, we talked about that one right, before I really started talking about the trades. And that's a little failed. It's a little two-legged pullback to the EMA with a bearish reversal bar. It's on a smaller level. It's a second entry short. And man, that turned out to be a nice trade. So you can't ignore that one if you're still trading. And notice we're still working towards that target, but we're kind of in this little channel here, and this is just a midline. Make it look like one. I usually draw them lighter just to distinguish them. But all kind of trades, and really down through here, there were some other entries you could have taken. Like I said, I didn't mark them all because some of them are more aggressive, and there were plenty of easy, sure things, and that's what I usually try to mark. We'll back out just so you can see the bigger picture again. And this is a nice move down today, and we almost have a measured move. We're not quite there. We'll see if we get it or not, but we're not quite there yet. But that's what I saw today, and not much more to talk about other than it's just a nice downtrend. You got to be careful counter trend trading. That's the reason this one, I'm a little hesitant to mark that one without marking it green. But if you're understanding what's going on here, there's reasons to want to go long right there, because this thing could have reversed and went higher. If I'd have not seen the, looking at it after the fact, I think it's, I say it should be green, maybe even not circled at all. But at that time this morning, you can see it looks much different when you're looking at it like that, because you've got the only thing you've got for sure. Oops. Is this channel working down? And you've got your break, possible break, attempted a new low, and then you got a little trap there. And so that was why, one of the main reasons I liked it. So you got to remember that, at different times of the day, after the fact, it's pretty clear that it probably wasn't very smart to be counter trend trading there. But that was a nice move up, and it just kept going and going and going. It looked like one of those moves that you'll see, ETF type moves where the algorithms are buying, because it just kept going and going and going and going, and it would look like it was going to reverse, and before the bar would close, it would go higher or close temporarily as a little doji or something, and then just keep going higher. Okay, I had an interruption, and I have no idea where we left off. I think we were wrapping things up, but been a good trading day. We still didn't get our new low, but notice we did break the trend line here on this. If this is a spiking channel and I have this right, we could move down to a new low and get that low now and then reverse. So who knows? But draw your short-term trend lines. Just like here, you could draw one to figure out when this move is going to be over. Looks like we hadn't had a close outside of it yet. Maybe this is going to be it. But draw those short-term trend lines, and until you get a close outside this or a trap or something, don't be going short, because you may get your close outside here and move to a new high that bounces off this midline and then a nice setup. So that's the idea behind the short-term trend lines, is to alert you when the move's over. So it usually works just like the other trend lines. It's not always 100%, just like here. It's questionable if you had a close outside, but the reason the move was over was that midline right there. And the break of this bigger short-term channel here. I'd call that probably a midline channel. And see, this is looking a lot like this one did. Will it continue to go lower? But notice there's a trap here. There's a double top, which we don't have that yet. So I'd be real careful going short right there on that one. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.